Hello, Janella. I'm here, but what you're seeing is my screen. Because I'm still finishing some bites of a piece of toast. I hope you can hear me. I see you just put up a heart, so I'm hoping that means that yes, you can hear me. I took sat in my recliner and went to sleep this afternoon, so I'm a little slow getting around tonight. And I'm going to go quick grab my tea. It should be ready. Whoops. Can't even spell right tonight. Not that that's unusual. When I'm typing. Spelling's one of my strong points, but the typing of it is not. Hi, Liz. Yes, I wish I had better classes for you today, Liz. Hopefully you enjoyed the afternoon one. Half of what I was going to do tonight isn't turning out for me either, so I don't know. We'll just see how it goes. Actually, I'm going to open up another file that I forgot to get out. I think it's this one. Oh, I don't see. Okay. What I'm doing right now is I'm going to pull something off of another sheet that I have down here. wonderful, thank you. Hi, Kathleen. And Liz and Kathleen, what I told Janella to begin with is I'm showing my screen and not my face because I'm just finishing up a piece of toast, which is my supper, and another cup of tea. So see if I can rinse the toast crumbs out. What you see now is just a chart, and this is what we're going to make tonight. I'm just going to show you how to make this, to make a legend. Oh, let's see here. Flipping screens here. This is what I am starting for my diagramming template. I've had just a messy one before, and I'm trying to get myself a new one. Let me just turn on and say, hello everybody, I am here. I'm not just a voice. But part of what I thought we were going to, I always have these great ideas, and then I've been working with the rotating and all, and that I was just going to play with, and what I was trying just was not working out, but we'll do something with play, so. This is the very raw beginnings of a new chart, and I'm going to oops, not that. Let's get this one up. I'm going to, I got too many guidelines here. I think I want to get rid of all the guidelines I have. So if you ever have too many guidelines, like I've got them all over the place, as you can see, my paper is over here, my page. And here's my symbols that I started a new one, and I have a JPEG of it, but I don't have an editable copy of it. And I should probably show you that. Let me pull that up. I think it's in here. Oh, this is design class. I got to get up my diagram class. Here we go. Here it is. And I think it's a JPEG in here someplace. It's not that one. That one I already have up. Oh, here it is. Oh, have, this is, I got the chart I want to show you. I'm going to show you first what I have on here, besides my blank page. And I'm going to pull that over. I have it off to the side for now. And I'm going to eventually turn this into a template of my own that I can use. And this was the one I had made before. I'm going to, I never did get rid of those guidelines, did I? View guides, show and hide. Okay, I just clicked the guides off, so I have no guidelines. I'm going to pull this over to the paper so you can see it easier. I'm going to group it for a minute. This is one that is the first one I started. And I can pull things off here. And if I have it, as you can see, I've got basic symbols here, rings, split rings. Sometimes they have a center line down them, and a darker side. Sometimes they just have the center line, and sometimes just the one side will be darker, or a portion of it if it's not a split ring that's symmetrical on both sides. These are 3 different ways of Josephine rings. And notice that this one, this third one, is not a cross, it's an X. And I'm going to point that out because if it's a simple cross inside the circle, like down here in the second column, swirl join. That's the way Nina Libin designates a swirl join. And this one has an extra piece in it, and I'm going to have to ungroup this to get that out. Right here, it's like I have 2 Josephine chains sitting here, so we'll get that off. This is the way a Josephine chain is usually. You've got your arc, and we've made lots of arcs. We've made like the direction arrow. And this has just got a zigzag across it, which you can do. Picots, small, medium, large, joining picots. When you diagram, the joining picots are the heavier line, the bigger width strokes, and to differentiate them from the regular picots. A false and mock picot is like an equal sign. And this has got to have a lot more added to it. The tatting direction, shuttle join, that's a symbol, a split chain. Now I've used color on a couple of these, but the reason that I usually do my designs in black and white, because when you print colors, and especially if you're going to do a pattern book, what can happen is when you go to the printer, every additional color you use costs you more to be printed compared to an all black and white. Now, for people who are downloading digital patterns, that's fine. They can print it with or without color. They can change it to all grayscale. Just remember that any color that's too pale is barely going to show up when printed. So you have to use a nice, deep, rich color. Frayed picots, I'll zoom in on that a little here. I've seen them both ways, and I've seen twisted picots, only this way. Now, what I want you to do is keep your eye out. Right now, what needs to be done is figure something out for, the coils and the bobbles. So far I haven't found anybody who's told me that they've diagrammed them before, and I'm going to show you what I've played around with. I don't like them yet, but it's a start. And I'm thinking, if you really look at this frayed picot, I've got half of it in a different kind of line. I'm thinking that might be what needs to work for. In fact, I'll show you what I tend to do. I am going to, whoops, I want to get down on that. I'm going to select that one. Oh, it's grouped with something else. Well, we'll just try making something like that. I'll show you how we can do that. I'll show you how to split a ring in half, or in 3/4 maybe. And we'll talk about that soon. So this is what I've started with. Now this, and the one thing you can do if it's saved as a template, and the way you can do that, I've got it named diagramming template up above, but it's just a regular SVG file. And what I'm going to do is say save template. And I'm just going to give it the same name. I may have already done this, diagramming template 2024, and save. And now I could even move this off to the side now to use, and this will be my template for diagramming. And let me go and show you now what I can do. I'm going to open up, I'm going to go to New from Template. Remember, this is where I will pick out my US letter one so that I'm working in inches, so I don't have to reset my rulers to inches. But if I go over to the very last item here, Custom, you'll notice there's down below, there's a few things that were automatically in here. CD label and all those, I think, just came automatically in here. But look at the names on these: 12 angles, 12-point snowflake polar grid, and right over here I have diagramming template 2024. So if I click on that now, it's in the custom. Any template you made, oh that's a, oh yeah, there it is. I think that's my original one I made. You can keep your things off center, and what you can do, that's a new document 4. I guess it opens up like that with everything in there. I can now use this for a brand new diagram. I'm not going to use my template, but I'm going to go File, Save As. This copy of my template I opened up, I'm going to do Save As, and then I could save it, just rename it, and just say, Medallion. Medallion 3, or whatever I'm going to name the design. Notice down here where it says file name, it's saving it as an SVG now. So I still have my template in my folder, but this is going to save the same thing as, now it says Medallion SVG. This looks like, oh, I might have made more than one new one. So now I can start my design, but I also have pre-made items that I can use. Notice right here, I have the 2 new symbols we made. for the block tatting. And that, I believe, was the onion. No, it wasn't the onion ring. Maybe it was the flat coil, but not the spiral up kind. But this would show different sizes, and that's not right either. So anyway, but you could indicate this on a design and use it. So this is what you can do. Have everything all pre-done. One of the things I do have from way long ago in here is these are numbers. And over here you can see I've got, it says, come on over here. Oh, I got my node tool instead of my selection tool. No wonder it won't move. Verdana size 7 regular. That's what this type is and what I use. So this is always here, and it reminds me, that's the type I prefer to use for making my patterns. And these numbers, I think that's what they are. They're all, I think, Verdana size 7. Because you have to have small numbers for small things. This is my Picot's, it says size 3 thread, but then these it says 30-40 thread, and they look the same. They should look different. You know, you can put all kinds of things in here, so you can just copy them and you bring them down and put them in your design. Like say I wanted to use this medium-sized Picot, I could just copy and paste it, bring it over, oops, double-click it, turn it around, and put it on my diagram. And of course, if I wanted it on all 6 of the petals, I would do I probably would do the clone. Rather than copy and paste or copy and duplicate, I'd probably do a clone, so in case I wanted to change the size of it when I add the next round on. So I would just, instead of Control-D for duplicate or Control-C for copy, I'm going to use Alt, I think it's D. Is that the one that gives me the clone? Now let me see. This is my original because the clone went on top. Now if I make this taller, yep, see how this one went taller too. That's why I would have clones that I put all around. Like this one, if I take it back over to where it was, the original size, I would take it and do my Alt-D, put it on rotate. Now this is going to move by 15-degree increments. And see, I can move it around. Now, I think it got smaller. Does anybody remember the key to that? Maybe it didn't. No, I think it did. This one looks smaller. I'm going to set that to the side, and I'm going to make another clone of this one. Control-D. Now, I'm going to go up here to the upper right corner and click on that down arrow. It says scale rounded corners, move gradients, move patterns. Is it this one? No. It must say that because I've got rounded corners on it. I'm going to take that off, the scale rounded corners, and hopefully when I do my clone, I guess the other one didn't. Well, maybe it changed size just a little. It's hard to tell. But remember, if you don't want things to change size when you scale them bigger or smaller, you want to make sure that you don't scale. You have your scaling off. And again, I use the rounded corners because if I want to join 2 picots together, and the rounded corners, remember, you get from your fill and stroke under stroke style. I can click both. Actually, I probably ought to click this one because that's my original clone, and I think that should work on the clone too. But I do want to click on rounded joins and rounded caps so that my ends are rounded and not square across, because when you try and put them together for things, you can get a nice end. Whereas remember, if they, I know, well, try this. Let's put it back to over here where it says cap, I'm going to put it back to a flat cap. Did it go to a flat cap? Whoops, I got more clones here. I must have hit the clone way too many times. There's my original right there. If I select yep, even the cap, changing the style. Changed all the clones too. And remember, when you try and put two, I'm going to slant this a little, two pieces together, you end up with, there's always usually a point sticking out somewhere. Whereas it's hard to get them just, and if you do get them so the points are covered, one is up higher than the other. So they're not even across the base then. And that's why the rounded corners make it easy to join things together. Sides or whatever, triangle sides, whatever. So remember that. Let's see. I think what I forgot to do on this one, it's not straight up and down anymore, but when I went to rotate it, if I zoom way in here, remember when you rotate, you've got to rotate center the cross with the white circle in the center of it. Right now, it's just rotating in place. If I wanted it to rotate around my, petals, I would have to drag that down to the center of the daisy. Now, when I rotate it, it rotates it around this center point here. So I can make my copies. They're all going to be crooked because the top one, oops, I didn't make a copy of it. You know what? Let me grab a new one. Let me pull a duplicate of that one over. Get rid of these. Okay, so I'm going to Alt-D clone it. I'm going to click it a second time. Whoops, why am I not getting it? There we go. There we go. I don't know why it wasn't, oh, maybe these things, I dropped them in the way right here. And now, click it a second time, rotate it. I'm going to have to zoom in to see my, and I'm using the plus and minus to zoom in. Oh, my center point's right in the center now. So I'm going to have to drag it. If you drag below your screen and hold, you'll get, your page will move. Put it there. Minus to back out. Now I'm going to rotate that clone. And if I hold my control, whoops. Control C. I've got it rotating. Maybe I didn't get the clone of it made. Maybe that's what I didn't get. There we go. Rotate it. I can freely move it this way, but if I'm holding my shift down, notice it moves in 15 degree, in increments, which means if you're working on something six-sided, you've got your 30 degrees between each, because you've got 30, 60, and 90 degrees, which is half of your circle. And I can, again, just clone it. Or, no, I don't want to clone again. It's already cloned. I'm going to... Okay, I have my clone, okay. Oh, I've already got my center still moved down, okay. And I'm going to hold my control to move it increments. And then what? Oh, and I can hit the space bar, that's right. And drop one there. I dropped it there, but I forgot to double click and hold control. Get the next one. Again. I'm using clone, but I might be able to just duplicate it because the first one, if I started with the first one and went right around without any interruptions, I would just get cloned copies. Now let's see if yep, about 3 of them. And that's what's nice about cloning. And if you hold the control key, it goes in 15-degree increments unless, remember, you have changed it in your preferences. Again, you can get them from the little diamond down here and go to preferences. And I believe it's under selector tool, node tool. Let me think of what it's under. Clickable text. Should be zoom tool behavior. Here it is, transforming, transforms. Paths. I should be finding a tool that has for the degrees. And all of a sudden I'm drawing a blank tonight. But it's set at 15 degrees. It might be under my where's rotation? I think it's in align, and another way I can get to things is the upper right, this little diamond right up here. Nope. Where's my other little thing? Fill and stroke. Okay, it's on the palette that you're on, the drop down. And under transform, rotate, we can set the 15 degrees here or 30 degrees and apply it to each object. See, I have this one selected. Let's see what happens if I put in, that is the degree sign, okay. If I put in 30, and it's going to go clockwise. This little thing says apply it clockwise. It went way over to here, which would have been there. But I think it has to do the rotation point again. I forgot to move a rotation point. Where did the rotation point go? You got to zoom way in sometimes to see your rotation point. I can't see where it's probably down at the bottom here somewhere, and I'm not seeing it. Or do I? No, I don't still have it in the center. Well, my rotation point is somewhere, and I don't know where. And again, I don't know. why I'm... So anyway, this is what you can use then. I've got it called medallion. So on my paper, I could start diagramming. I can pick and copy symbols off of anything I have here. Pick and copy my arrows off of here to put on for directions. And so this is my original one, and this works. This would work just fine. The new page I was trying to make, that I no longer have a copy of, is the JPEG. And where did that one go? I got too many things here. Let me see. I haven't been paying attention here. How are you guys doing? Do you feel like you're learning something tonight? I'm going to go to the next thing now. And it's going to be how to make this, because what I'm doing now is making a chart of, I'm putting the symbol or the name of the element that's, and the symbol for it, and a little description. And this can actually be resized, but it's not, the pieces are apart because this is a grid, it's not a polar grid. If I want it to be all grouped, I've got to go over the whole thing. Notice here how I have dotted lines now all over. Everything is selected. I can group it, and now it moves as one. So when you make this, if you want to make a chart of some kind in here, where you have diagram parts available, rather than using Microsoft Word, I'm going to show you how to make that kind of a grid. And I have down here, let's see, how to make a grid. This will show you, oh, go away, a regular grid, a polar grid. Let me get that. An isometric grid, this is where you have horizontal lines and slants from both sides, so you've got all diamond shapes. A Cartesian grid is what we're going to make tonight. It has columns and rows. So if you want to make something that has columns and rows, and a small one of these would be really good to put abbreviations in that you want to, okay, good. So we're going to make a Cartesian grid. I'm just going to totally close that. And so what we're going to do is go to our extensions. We're going to go down to render. And remember, that's where we go down, whoops. I can't even hold my mouse steady. All right, here we go. Down to grids. And this time we're going to select, rather than the polar grid at the bottom, we're going to select the Cartesian grid. And we get the same type of a setup as when you're making a polar grid, except all we have is the X and Y axis. So for the X axis, which is our horizontal, and of course horizontally across is where we want our columns. It's the number of columns we want. And I'm just going to put 2. And division spacing is on 5. I'm trying to think of what I use. You know what I did? Instead of, I don't know millimeters, so I'm going to put on inches and make it like just a half inch, 0.5. So they'll be separated by a half inch. I'm going to leave everything else 1. Thickness, I'm going to put thickness unit. This is actually in pixels. I believe it pixels, and I'm going to leave the major divisions at 0.5. That's a nice thickness. I don't actually have any minor divisions. What it is subdivisions per major division, X division. If it's at 1, that means there's only going to be one, there's just going to be one space without any dividing lines in it, like our little box were made. This is, if you ever do web design, or even in Word, you can make tables. And Inkscape and usually drawing programs don't have tables, but you can easily make them from these grids. So I've got my 2 columns. I'm going to go to my y-axis, and I'm going to make major divisions. Well, think, if we have, I'm working with an 8.5 inch paper, so if I want to leave an inch at the top and at the 2 sides, at each side, or 3/4 of an inch, I have to subtract that from the 8.5. So, actually this will split it in half. This will make the number of rows. And I think if they're 1/2 inch rows, major division spacing, oh, you know what, my x-axis? I do have to have a division because I have 2 columns, and I have it in inches, so I'm going to take half of 7, which is 1.5 inches less than 8.5 for my width of my paper, and I'm going to put 3.5 in there. It's going to split my columns, so each one is going to be 3.5. And we will be able to change that later. Now I can go back to my y-axis, and now I'm doing rows. I think what I've used before is 6. We'll see how far down that goes. Again, I'm going to make that on major y spacing, 6 of them, but I'm going to make these, this is what I'm going to make, a 1/2 inch, 0.5. Did I set the other at 0.5? No, I didn't. Okay. So rows are 6. They're going to be, maybe it has to stay an inch. I thought I was able to put in 0.5. Oops, no wonder I used a 0.5. Let's see if it lets me use that. I don't want any subdivisions, so I'm going to make that 1. Again, I'm going to make them, now I'm going to leave them at 5 and 3. We'll just see what they look like. Okay, so I'm going to apply. If you think the small box at the bottom, I try it on my computer, and sometimes, I don't know if it's my, the amount of RAM I have or what, but sometimes, actually since the new revision, the new version, I haven't tried it, but sometimes it would crash my computer, so I don't usually, let me see, I'll click it. Oh, maybe I'm seeing something there. All right, let me click over. I can't, it looks like I had something off center over there, but I'm going to click apply. Great, here's what I've gotten. Now I could have added a bunch more rows. Now again, this is grouped as it came out, but if I ungroup it, now you can see I'm getting lines that I can, oh, this is grouped really strangely. I'm ungrouping using Control-Shift-G. Now I've got all my lines. At this point now I can move. Say I wanted this column to be smaller and more space to write on the right. I can move it over. I can also, if I want a heading across the whole thing, I can just take, in order to go straight down, I'm going to hold Control and Shift. Oh, I lost my bottom one. Lengthen that. Oh, I know. I don't want to hold Control and Shift, just Control. Control and Shift together, it's shortening it from both ends at the same time. So there's a chart with a header space, and I can make it whatever I want. So that is a Cartesian grid. Do you have any questions about that? If it's in half, you can actually, you might label abbreviations. Now, the one thing we haven't talked about is if you're going to import your abbreviations, if you want them in a small box, now obviously this is a big box for my whole paper. Oops, I forgot to regroup it. Select all, Control Group. Say I wanted a small box like this, and I want to insert it into a Word document. I don't want this big page. And this is whether you're working with an image or a diagram, and I don't think I've shown even a diagram you can do this with. I'm going to put it in the very center of the page. I better look and see up here. I can see my blue lines. This is just under, you can see the blue up here. It's about 1 3/4 inch for the box. I might need it to be maybe like that. Now I don't, if I'm not full size, I don't know how big I want it. If you want to put abbreviations, like you might even want to move, ungroup it again. Because you're going to be short on space, you might want to make the header line small and just put abbreviations that you're using in your pattern, and then you can put them in here. But if we're going to take it, make sure and group it again to move it, we put it in the center of the paper because the paper is going to get smaller around all 4 edges. Now I know I probably want this box to be just a little over the width of the box, so I'm going to make it 3 by 3. I'm going to go to, I'm going to use my little diamond here, or arrow here, that faces to the right, is pointing to the right, and go down to Document Properties. Whoops, what did I do? I don't need that selected. Document Properties. Okay, instead of US letter size, I could go and make it, I want this drop down right there. Somewhere, I should be up at the top. Or I think to make a custom size, I've got it set in inches. If I just make it, say, 3 by 3 inches, hello, 3.000. enter. I'm going to have to move this up. Oh, I didn't make it big enough for my box, so I think it's tall enough for my box, but it's not wide enough. I'm going to make the width 3.5, and then I'm hitting enter on my keyboard. Oh, I made 3.5. Enter on my keyboard. Now when I save this, this is just going to be a little teeny. We can save it as a JPEG, and we can insert it in a Word document. Just this abbreviations box that we've made. And one of the things that this is, if you've ever, well, you probably have, when you work in Word, it's hard to make a box that you can put, a small box that you can put your things in, that like this, and add it to your document, and not have it, we'll fix it so it doesn't move around with your text. And that's another thing we'll look at for, it's probably a good thing to look at next week, is setting up a Word document if you want to work that way. Otherwise, you could have just built this on the whole 8.5 by 11 page and started and used Inkscape. It's a pretty good, they've got a pretty good text and font editor now. Here's font families. You can choose from italic, bold. So it's pretty, you can write your whole pattern in here if you want to. So that's how to make a column grid for yourself. The only other thing is now is, I'm going to say save. I don't need the new document. Close without saving. Okay, the Cartesian grid box I no longer need. Whoops. Oh, that's my, that's what you're seeing on my screen. No questions? Okay. I'm going to close that up. Let's see what I have left open in Inkscape. Oh, I think it's not the medallion. It's not the clone tile. It's not the new document. Let me open that up. What I want, oh, I don't want to close it yet because I want to open up. I'm going to open recent. It's not the medallion. Oh, clone tile medallion. I think, no. Maybe it is that one. Nope. Okay, let me open up my diagram class folder. I hope that's not the same medallion. It is. What was the name of that file I was using last week and playing in? Can't remember what I named it last week. Oh, it's this one. All right. Let me get that other one closed up. I have too many things open here. Did I just close the wrong one? Oh, there it is. All right, here's the one we want. I'm going to show you what I was been playing around with for stacked rings. And I really oops. Gotta find where I was. I know it's on here somewhere. At least I thought it was. I may not be able to come up with it tonight. So I thought it was on this one. No. I wonder if I can look in my files and one more time and see what I've used recently. Date modified. I put them in February. Well, I can sell until it. Maybe this is the one. Oh, here he is. I've been playing around with something like this for stacked rings. One of the things I found is if you take a ring and you're going to make a stack of it and you're going to use, like say I make a Alt-D clone of this and move it up a little. Alt-D clone, move it up a little. This is hard to even tell what it is. It's like an optical illusion to me. You can't tell, you know, what's what. And even if they're, I think this is my clone. Let me get my node tool. Even if this was more of an oval, it's still, you look at it and I'm not, to me it doesn't seem like, oh, that's stacked rings. So I was playing around with pieces like this. And the way I made those pieces was, when you look, notice that when you go around, in order for them to, whoops, that's a piece of one. That's what I'm going to show you how to do tonight. This top one is a broken one. You really need more than half of the ring. And I'll show you why. And I don't know if this would work. The only other thing I can think of, and I'll show you, let me get rid of 3 of them. Go from here. The other thing is, I'm using round shapes. And here I put in, when you have stacked rings, you have joins that go down the side, and they really are pretty straight looking. And when you stack rings, every other ring starts at the opposite end. And if you make it a little bit of a pointed at the bottom, like I usually make my rings, then you got a pointed end sticking out here and over there, and the whole thing is really confusing. Now this might be better without even using the joins, because this is just a symbol for stacked rings. And this really, without any showing where you join, that's part of the technique, the joining. And this is just a symbol to represent the stacked rings. And you might want to put arrows. These arrows are a little big. I probably want them smaller so they don't overpower the diagram. And you might only want to put them on. Oh, I made everything smaller. I didn't mean to do that. I forgot to ungroup and make only the arrows smaller. Just select those. So anyway, this is what I've been working on. And in order to get this, I have to cut my ovals. And I'm just going to use the guidelines I have here. I don't think I have snap on, but I can usually move things and come out pretty good. Get my center centered. I've worked in this so much, I'm almost there. Okay. Now, if I look at the nodes on here, I could easily know how to cut it right in half. But they won't quite reach on the sides like this one right here. So I know that I have to cut it. We definitely always want to cut it on nodes. So I am going to bring this down so it's about this far above. I'm just like eyeballing this. Now I'm going to add nodes here. Double click to add a new node and double click. I didn't need to do that. That's what I started out doing yesterday. Realized I didn't have to. All I have to do is take my pen tool and click outside start my line, my stroke on this side, bring it over and double click my stroke. Now what we're going to use is we're going to cut the oval on the bottom using the stroke on the top. And if you somehow unselect it or something, that's fine, but you do have to have both of them selected. And I do know, because I made my line after I made the circle, that my line should be on the top. So if I select these, whatever is on the top is going to cut the bottom path. So the top straight line should cut the oval below. I'm going to go to Path, Cut Path, and now notice, if you look close here, notice I've got two selection boxes. That's because this top part is now separated from the bottom part. And these are what I used then I did do clones on this in case I wanted to change the side. So I did Alt-D and then move it up so it goes over the top. Now I could have maybe made the cut lower, and even now I could say, I think it would look better if it was lower. And I can just go in then and because it's a clone, I can select the bottom one, go to my N for my node tool, and actually I'm just going to pull these down a bit. I'm not going to pay attention. I should make two new ones and then delete the end ones so that everything stays, so that both sides stay the same. And then I'll get rid of this top one. Now let's see if I clone and move it up. Okay, now there's a close together here. And remember, when you back off, this is going to be small. And so that's how I stacked them, whoops, on top of each other. And then I had forgot that before I cut it, I should have kept one oval off to the side, a duplicate, so I could add it to the top. But what I can do is just, I can even, let me make one more and put it up here. Let's just make 3 of them. I can pull my top over. I don't think I redid that to fit, did I? No. So we'll just eyeball it. It's not a good oval, but this is the idea. And then you'd put an arrow going this way and that way, because on the bottom you start going around clockwise. So this would be the base of the first ring, and then the next one you make from this end and hook. When you get to the picot halfway at the top of the ring, you're joining to the base area of the first one. And then you do this one starting at the right side, you work it halfway, and when you get to the halfway point, you pick up that, you actually basically overlap your threads to get it hooked together before you start the next ring that way. So something like this could represent stacked rings. But another thing I'm thinking of is maybe if we took the oval to begin with. Do I have an oval to begin with here? I think I'll just pretend this is I'm going to group it so I'm pretending it's a whole ring that's nice and even. Oh, this one probably. Oh, this one's a nice oval. What I'm thinking is, if we go with our node tool and put in a node right there, let's see if I can get my, oops, I should have brought my ruler guide down, and a node right on the other side. I'm wondering if I can select, I'm not sure I can, but I'm going to try selecting part. I'm going to select the top nodes. I may have to cut this oval to do what I want to do. And I'm going to hold my shift key, oops, select that, select all 3 of these top ones. I want to see now, what I didn't try yet, is what if we can select that. I may have to now, I have the 3 nodes select, just the 3 of them, but I want to be able to use my selection tool now, so I'm going to click S, or I could just go here, and oh, I got the whole thing connected because I grouped it. But what I'm thinking is maybe we can take part of it, like, and I'm going to try this and see. Otherwise, we'd have to split it first, and on the back half of the oval, not pull it apart, but on the back half of the oval, let's try making a dotted line. What we're going to need is our stroke style. Let's go to our stroke style right here. And what if, with those 3 selected, I click like a dotted line? No, it makes the whole thing. So it would have to be that the top half, where'd my top half go? I would have to have my top half piece, which I don't have right now. But let's say this is, I'm going to pull, oops, get my selection tool. Pull this down. Pretend that's the half of a ring. So I have a bottom half and a top half. Get my, I'm hitting Z on the keyboard to get my zoom tool. Okay, what if I took this line and turned it into a dotted or dashed line? Now, what if I'm going to group it, and I'm thinking, what now if I clone it and then move it up, clone it, move it up again? Would that work to show stacked rings? It could be little dashes, and being a piece like that, if we ungroup it, and I think if I go down, ungroup the bottom one, because these are clones. So if I take just this piece right here, which is my original that I cloned the top two out of, and I go down and change the opacity, I bet I gotta go, let me go way down to like say 45. I'm gonna type in 45 under opacity. It didn't change the others, each one would have to be changed. But can you see how the lines are grayer now? So that might give it even more of a look of, that's the part of the ring that's behind. Here's the front part of the stack. And then too, if you're putting it in your diagram, and this is the way, maybe they go here in your diagram, maybe they go this way. You could use these two in your diagram to indicate your stacked rings, and then I would put up above like, maybe I wanted 6 stacked rings, and I'd write that above. So maybe you could put, I'm going to take the text tool and put X, oh, what do I have here? Do I have I have a stroke. I want just a regular X. And I got to put my opacity. Oh, it is back up to 100, I think. But it looks like it isn't. I'm going to do Shift Black. Oh, my fill is way down. No. Oh, I should have black text here. Or maybe I want just use the number sign. Okay, get my, where's my number sign? I'm going to go with X rings. X number of rings. And then if you copy it to use in your diagram, copy the whole thing, you can change and put how many rings are actually in the pattern. So that's my idea. I don't know what anybody thinks. I haven't shown this to anyone else. But now you've learned how to cut and stack ovals and cut ovals in half and use the 2 parts. So, and you never know when something like that is useful when you're diagramming. Well, thank you for the heart. And that's it for tonight. So I guess we did accomplish quite a bit. So anyway, and again, I would put the arrows on there so people realize that, you know, if they don't know how to do stacked rings and you're writing out the instructions and you're going to write them out so they'll understand in the instructions that when you actually do the technique, your rings, every other ring is facing this opposite direction as like all the even ones face the same direction and the uneven ones face the other direction. If you put the arrows on a diagram, that'll help them remember if they take a quick look at the diagram and don't want to, you know, just to remember and don't want to actually read the instructions again. You like that for the stack, Kathleen? Thank you. Yeah, I'm thinking, now that I've tried it with dashes in the back side, I really think I like that best. And I hadn't tried that before. I knew I had the idea came to me, but I hadn't tried it. So, but you're welcome. I hope you all enjoyed it and again have learned something. And I will see you next week. Please think about starting your own little like abbreviation little table. I'm going to call it a table because it looks like a table that's got rows and columns. They're right in a box. You like the faded backlines? Yes, I do too. Thank you, thank you. So until next week, I hope you have a good week. I hope you can maybe get an abbreviation table or a symbols table started for yourself. And whatever you have forgotten how to make, like a curved arrow or something like that, or to make the, try making yourself a zigzag line to go through the chain symbol for a Josephine chain, or a Josephine ring. I didn't even have a diagram of that on mine. You're welcome. Have a great night. Have a great week. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.